Good morning. You're watching the morning news on CNN News 18. I am Aisha Varma. Our top focus is on Sri Lanka because a new president will finally be elected today. Now, amid chaos, turmoil and crisis, the Sri Lankan parliament will elect its new president today. After Lankan parliament leader of opposition, Sajith Premadasa, withdrew his candidature, 3 people are now in the fray. The competition for the prime post will be between Ranil Wickremesinghe and Dallas Alaperuma. However, another contender, Disanayak, somebody who is known to be a critic of Wickremesinghe, is competing for the post. Meanwhile, the Tamil Progressive Alliance and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party have decided to support Dallas. Now, CNN's Will Ripley speaks to acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is also a front-runner for the Sri Lankan presidential polls. Listen into this exclusive conversation.
As president, it's important to tell the truth. Do you think that the previous administration was telling the truth to the people of Sri Lanka?
No.
They were not?
They were not.
They were lying to the people?
They were covering up facts.
What were they covering up?
That we are bankrupt, that we need to go to the IMF, amongst others.
So what would you like to say to the people now, truthfully, as somebody who could very likely be their next president?
To tell the people, I know what they are suffering. We have gone back. We have to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, but we can do it. We don't need 5 years, 10 years. By next year, let's start stabilizing that, and certainly by 2024, let's have a functioning economy which will start growing, export-oriented economy, a dynamic economy.
There is a very serious crisis in Sri Lanka. That the situation there is unprecedented in terms of the what we are seeing, the financial and social and political consequences of that. It is a very close neighbor, so naturally the level of concern as well as the worry that there would be spillover to India is there. The support that India has given, $3.8 billion assistance, no other country has given this level of support to Sri Lanka, and the initiatives that we are taking, how to help them and facilitate their engagement with other bodies including IMF and with other debtors.
Now, as the Maharashtra political fiasco gets bigger, the Supreme Court is set to hear 2 pleas filed by the Eknath Shinde camp of the Shiv Sena challenging the disqualification notices issued against 16 rebel lawmakers who switched sides. The court will also hear the pleas filed by the Uddhav camp challenging the appointment of Eknath Shinde as the chief minister of the state. The Uddhav camp has also urged the apex court to declare the special session assembly as unconstitutional. And this was the same session where the floor test was conducted and the MVA government was thrown out of power. Meanwhile, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has confirmed the appointment of Rahul Shewale as the leader of the parliamentary party of the Shiv Sena.
महाराष्ट्र में शिवसेना भाजपा का सरकार स्थापित हुआ। हमारे हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहेब ठाकरे जी के विचार लेकर हम लोगों ने ये सरकार स्थापित किया है भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ शिवसेना भाजपा का। हमारी सरकार जो है उसे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय जी, गृह मंत्री महोदय जी और केंद्र सरकार का पूरी तरह समर्थन प्राप्त है। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने भी कहा है कि राज्य के विकास के लिए आप जो भी कदम उठाओगे, जो भी प्रकल्प आप आगे ले जाना चाहते हो, उसे पूरी तरह हम लोग समर्थन देंगे।
Now, shifting focus, the power tussle between DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah is now out in the open. This comes after DK Shivakumar made an open pitch to be the chief minister's face. Now, this is the first time ever that the KPCC chief openly pitched his name for the chief ministerial candidature. And this comes after ex-Karnataka Chief Minister and Shiv Kumar's arch-rival, Siddaramaiah, during an address on the 18th of July, said that he might not contest the polls from his home turf, Chamundeshwari, and that the 2023 state polls will be his last election.
ನಾನು ಚಾಮುಂಡೇಶ್ವರಿಯಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. I'm making it very, 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 very clear. ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಿಲ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಲ್ತೀನಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ this is going to be my last election.
ನಮ್ಮ ಸಮುದಾಯದವರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಹಂತದವರೆಗೂ ತಲುಪಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸಿಎಂ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವಾಗ? ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಾಗ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ನನ್ನ ಹಿಂದೆ ರ್ಯಾಲಿ ಆಗಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ನಾನು ಆಗೋದು ಬಿಡೋದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ನನ್ನ ಕೈಯನ್ನು ಬಲಪಡಿಸಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ.
Our managing editor, Zaka Jacob, spoke to a panel of guests on the ongoing internal rift in the Karnataka Congress unit as DK Shivkumar and Siddaramaiah are at loggerheads. Listen in.
What then happens if these two gentlemen, Mr. Siddaramaiah and Mr. DK Shivkumar, are continuing to fight this shadow boxing fight for leadership and who will become chief minister? Then what happens to all the truce that the leadership was trying to instill between these two gentlemen?
Good evening, and thanks for having me on this show. And before I start, hearty congratulations to my fellow panelist, Nagaraju Yadavji, on becoming an MLC hit. We haven't met since it's become one. And coming back to the point, it is nothing unexpected that you get to sort of see the kind of a fight that you are seeing between Mr. DK Shivkumar and Siddaramaiah ji. For once, if you take a step back and try to understand their leadership style, their achievements, their political journey, you get to see it's a massive, massive difference between a very tall leader like Siddaramaiah. I mean, irrespective of whichever party he is in, give it to him that he has come from absolute humble background, studied on his own, become a lawyer, got into the political movement through the anti-emergency Janata Parivar mode, hardcore anti-Congressy. He would abuse the entire Congress leadership, left, right, and center. He took pangas with the Janata Dal and came out of it and went into Congress after abusing them and still had the guts to say that I'll become the chief minister and became so he did. Compare him with someone like DK Shivkumar, who's no match for him. He could not even become a cabinet minister in Siddaramaiah's government. He had to literally cry and shuttle between Delhi and Bangalore to become a cabinet minister at some point in time. So between the two, if you were to sort of look at it, it's very evident that one person who's a self-made political leader, irrespective of whatever his Hublot watch or some other corruption scandals might be against him, it never stuck to him in a way. I mean, that's his persona. Right?
Okay.
Congress being a very corrupt government, it never stuck to Siddaramaiah per se. But that's not the case with, let's say, DK Shivkumar. Someone who spent 50 long days in Tihar. You just can't take it away from him.
Okay, Rashid,
You put his face on the Congress.
can we at least admit... Yeah, no, one second. Let me get the others also, please. Rashid Kidwai, can we at least admit that Siddaramaiah, by virtue of being former chief minister and perhaps having greater connect with the voters, I hate to use this phrase in politics, but perhaps has first rights over the chief minister's post, certainly in terms of stature, as our BJP guest was just saying a moment ago. In terms of stature, he doesn't seem to be much of a match to Siddaramaiah.
Yes, Zaka, I think this is a real perennial problem with the Congress, that they are not able to project a face, and in most states where Congress has a reasonable good chance to perform well, it always ends up with being, a tussle between two factions or three contenders, etc. And that's where I think Delhi, that being central leadership, is extremely weak. It just wants to work, very kind of loosely knit some kind of peace formula where it says that it will accommodate concerns of both parties. But the stakeholders are very keen. They want to have a decisive, mandate, and they want to go to the people. There is a saying in Hindi that "Gaon basa nahi, lutere aa gaye, ya bhikari aa gaye," all kind of things are said. The fact of the matter is Congress has to get its act together and win elections and then decide who should be the chief minister.
No, so what then happens to this so-called truce, which the High Command had supposedly brokered over the last few weeks or so Apparently, both leaders came, met Rahul Gandhi, and Rahul Gandhi told them focus on collective leadership, focus on one thing, and that is how to remove the BJP from power in Karnataka. That truce seems to have been rather short-lived.
Yes, Zaka, because it doesn't satisfy. It's a kind of what Congress people say lollipop culture. So the both sides think that they have, they have a claim to the post in case the Congress wins, and eventually that's what we are seeing in whether it's in Chhattisgarh or in Rajasthan or what happened in Madhya Pradesh. So the fact of the matter is that Rahul Gandhi, because he is himself not taken, technically speaking, the mantle of leadership. So therefore, he is not in a position to be that assertive that normal Congress president would be, or for that matter, Sonia Gandhi. So everything is in the realm of some kind of assurance or a promise, and there is no clarity. And I think that is something Congress needs to address itself on top priority.
So fact of the matter is, these two tall leaders of your party are still continuing to fight, and the bigger fight that you should be waging is against the BJP.
No. Entire thing is misunderstood by the people, even by the media. It's so unfortunate to tell you frankly this thing. The Siddaramaya's birthday, nothing to do with the party forum at all. Siddaramaya's birthday, it's 75th birthday, where his well-wishers are doing it. Where D.K. Shivkumar Saab is talking about, he is also contended, nothing wrong with it. Nobody is saying that he is not interested in being a chief minister. They're all leaders. You know very well the KPCC is an important portfolio. Party president, and CLP also important portfolio. There is no difference of opinion at all. All that Congress party is definitely fighting against the corrupt government in Karnataka. What is wrong in he is saying it's my last election. It doesn't mean that he has declared himself as the candidate of Karnataka state chief ministership. Shivkumar never said that he is the only candidate of chief minister of Karnataka state. We all working together. 1 minute, let me finish it. We are the leaders working together. We believe in collective leadership of Karnataka politics. Today Karnataka politics, we are doing, Congress is trying to expose the BJP because the misrule in the name of religion or in the name of corruption.
This is precisely what I'm saying, that when a senior leader says this is my last election, is he not trying to invoke sympathy so that he becomes the top man? When another leader says if Vocaligas want to see a chief minister in the state after SM Krishna, it has to be me. He's saying in as many words.
It is... No. These two people have said in a different context by trying to say that we have to bring Congress to power in Karnataka state. That is the idea of telling it.
All right, now shifting focus, the death of a class 12 student in Tamil Nadu's Kalakurchi has sent shockwaves across the country. The second autopsy, ordered by the Madras High Court, was conducted yesterday, and the process took over 3 hours. The autopsy was conducted by a team of 3 doctors appointed by the court, and it was also videographed. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin held a meeting via video conference regarding the matter yesterday. Now, the ministers and secretaries briefed the Chief Minister about the people who instigated the violence and the steps taken to curb it. Now, right before we head into a short break, we will tell you about a special initiative, Network 18's initiative Netra Suraksha, India Against Diabetes, in association with Novartis, is back with its second season where we are raising much-needed awareness around diabetic retinopathy, an eye disorder caused by diabetes. Here are some glimpses of the power-packed launch from the BSF War Memorial in the Ran of Kutch, Gujarat.
Indian soldiers protect the country's borders with their watchful eyes. And even as they do that, we here on Network 18 want to protect their family's vision from diabetes. Join Network 18's initiative, its mission to protect India's vision from diabetes, Netra Suraksha, India Against Diabetes, in association with Novartis.
But the big surprise and the big climber has been Liz Truss, who was the foreign secretary in Boris Johnson's government. She's jumped up to 86 votes. Kemi Badenoch, who also used to be the equalities minister, she has now opted out of this contest after she finished number 4. So the contest tomorrow is going to be between these 3, between Sunak, Mordaunt and Liz Truss, and one of them, in fact 2 of them, will remain standing, who will go into the final clash. That's going to happen later on. Meanwhile, let's move on here on Brass Tack Superfast to Sri Lanka, where the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has withdrawn from the presidential race. Premadasa announced the decision on Twitter. He said that he was withdrawing his candidacy for the greater good of the country and supporting rival candidate Dallas Alaperuma. In fact, the Sri Lankan parliament will tomorrow meet and elect a new president, and the fight seems to be between Ranil Wickremesinghe, the interim president right now, and Dallas Alaperuma. Now, let's take a look at the three men who are in the race to be the next president of Sri Lanka. Ranil Wickremesinghe, of course, is the current acting president. He's backed by the ruling SLPP, which is the party of the Rajapakshas. Dallas Alaperuma is a senior leader, again from the SLPP. He's been a multiple-time legislator. He's a lawmaker from Matara in the southern part of the country. He's considered to be a dark horse in this race. Also, the final one is the JVP leader, Aruna Kumara Dissanayaka. In fact, he is from the left-wing Janata Vimukti Peramuna. He's a strong critic of Prime Minister Wickremesinghe as well as the Rajapakshas, but he's thought of to be as too radical a candidate to be leading the country at a critical time such as this. Meanwhile, back home, day 2 of the monsoon session of Parliament was rocked by opposition-led protests.